Hey guys, Zen here, and today I wanted to talk about some of the recent news for Rainbow Six Siege. Year 4 is just around the corner, and so naturally there are some leaks and rumors that are beginning to swirl, and so today I wanted to bring you guys everything that we know so far. And so first of all, I want to show you guys this. It's an image of the upcoming Australian operators for Rainbow Six Siege. We have here Mozzie, the defender, the larger looking woman here, and Gridlock, the attacker. Now, for those of you guys that are unaware, we had a leak happen a little while back for two new abilities, one being drones hacked and the other being tracks deployed. And now we have what could be the operators that will be bringing these abilities to the game. First off, we have Mozzie, the new defender coming with the Australian season, and her gadget will be to effectively take over attacker drones. Now, I've heard a lot of speculation online about how exactly this gadget may work, and a lot of people are comparing it to mute. So you guys know that when you place a mute jammer at the top of a stairwell or in a doorway, the drones have a decision to make. Either they risk being jammed and try to cruise through it, or they find another way around the jammer so that they don't get jammed. Now, a lot of people, again, are thinking that Mozzie's gadget will be used in a very similar way. You place this gadget at the top of a stairwell, in a doorway, or maybe behind a window, and if a drone happens to come in contact with it, Mozzie will then be able to take over that drone and control it and use it for the defending team. Now, the one big glaring issue, or the one big question that I have about this gadget, is whether or not it'll work similar to Dokkaebi after she gets a hack. Will Mozzie, after having access to one drone, then be able to look at the entire network of drones and essentially hack into their cams and see their feeds? Or is it just that when she comes into contact with a drone, she's just able to take it over? I think if she does end up having access to the entire feed or network of drones, that's an extremely powerful ability that puts droning as a major disadvantage for the attackers pretty much every time that this defender will be on the field. So as far as Mozzie is concerned, that's her gadget. That's pretty much everything that we know. And again, that's the biggest question that I think a lot of the community have right now about her. So I want to hear from you guys about this particular operator. Do you think that Mozzie should have access to the entire network of cams after she gets access to a drone? Or do you think that having just one drone and being able to cruise it around after it comes into contact with her gadget is enough for this operator? Let me know in a comment down below. But now we can talk about Gridlock, the new attacker coming with the Australian season, and his gadget is to place out a red web trap that when defenders walk through it, it damages them, but it also makes a lot of noise. Now, there was a leak for exactly what this gadget looks like, so here it is. As you guys can see, it almost looks like Jaeger's icon, and although this has nothing to do with stopping projectiles, it does remind me very heavily of Barbed Wire, the secondary gadget on defense. So we did just have the introduction of Nomad on attack, and she's what is being considered the first ever attacking trap operator. And so now with Gridlock, I think we are seeing the second attacker with a trap coming to Rainbow Six Siege. Now, you guys know Barbed Wire on the defensive team is an extremely powerful secondary gadget. Not only does it slow down the attackers that are walking through it, but it also makes a ton of noise anytime an attacker is shuffling through it, and if they want to get rid of it and melee it, you're also going to hear that as well. So it's an incredible intel tool, and I think it's been a long time coming where attack has needed something to really slow down the defenders that are either flanking or pushing a certain route. And even though Nomad does push them back and create a really big noise and a lot of intel with her gadget, I think being able to slow them down and force them to really think about which way they're coming from is a piece of utility that we just haven't had on attack yet. And I'm thinking that Gridlock will be the operator that introduces this. Now, if you look at the design of this gadget, you can tell that there are spikes within this web. So I'm thinking that this is going to make it really difficult for the defenders to actually deal with. If we take it back to the Barbed Wire example, all the attackers have to do is melee the barbed wire twice and it's gone. There's no damage taken. There's really no counter to it other than you're making a lot of noise, and you can actually reach the barbed wire from pretty far away and get rid of it pretty easily without the defenders really being able to do anything about that. Now, over on attack, again, with Gridlock and this gadget, there's spikes in this thing. And so I'm thinking that if a defender wants to get rid of this, they may just have to use explosive utility to do so, because I don't believe that meleeing this thing is just going to be as easy as getting rid of barbed wire. I think that if anything, if you try to melee these spikes, they may do additional damage for every time that you hit this thing. So I'm thinking that there could be some counterplay there. You can still melee it, you can still destroy it, but if you choose to do so, you're going to take a lot of damage. And I actually look at this similar to when Kaid or even Bandit has barbed wire electrified. Sure, you can always use explosive utility like a frag grenade to get rid of it, but if you do decide to melee and punch electrified barbed wire, you're going to take damage. You're going to take, I believe, 5 ticks of damage for every time that you hit this thing. And so it's a really powerful trap tool on defense as well if it's set up the correct way. So I'm thinking that the only way for this to really be viable on the attacking team and to really slow down and damage the defenders is if these spikes do some sort of damage if they try to melee it to get rid of it. Outside of that, the defenders do have impact grenades for explosive utility, so that could also be one way of dealing with it. And it also could be one way of forcing the defenders to use their impact grenades on things outside of opening up the map. So for those of you guys that are heavy roamers, you know that impact grenades are one of the most crucial pieces to any roamer's kit, and that's why you see so many 3-speed operators with them. We have Vigil, we have Alibi, even Caveira, that are all 3-speed, all considered roamers, and all have impact grenades because they just allow you to get around the map so quickly and so seamlessly. And so now having an attacker that may force those defenders to use those impact grenades on that gadget to get rid of it could be an absolute game changer, and again could change the utility of the impact grenade as we know it. So my initial thoughts are that Mozzie is going to be the new interesting and fun operator to play, while Gridlock is going to serve that more fundamental purpose. And I think we see that same dynamic here with Operation Win Bastion. You have Nomad, who's really flashy, she does the hot new thing, she's a really fun operator to play. And then you have Kaid, who's a lot more grounded and fundamental, and who brings an anti-breaching tool with his Electroclaw gadget. And so again, I'm thinking that that same dynamic kind of carries over into the Australian season. But if I had to choose just one, I'm actually looking more forward to Gridlock. I think his gadget is going to serve a massive purpose that we really haven't seen yet in the game, which will be really to slow down any flanking or any roaming defenders that are trying to get close to the attackers. And I think it's going to be especially important for him in the late game, kind of similar to Legion, where the attackers are already pushing the objective, maybe they have a wall open, and Gridlock sets up one of his traps as a way to slow down a flanking Caveira or maybe a flanking Vigil trying to make their way back to the objective. Now, as far as operator speed, I think it's more than apparent that Mozzie is going to be a 3 armor, 1 speed. She looks really big, she looks really hefty. And then I think Gridlock is actually going to be a 3-speed attacker. We haven't seen a 3-speed since Grim Sky with Maverick coming on attack, and so I'm looking forward to another fast 3-speed operator on attack. Now, the last bit of news that we get is that there's going to be a rework to Canal. So similar to Hereford Base, you guys know they took the old original map, which was actually Rainbow Six Siege's first map, and they completely reworked it into what it is now with Operation Grim Sky, and essentially reintroduced it as a brand new map. They added a stairwell, they made some changes to the spawn peaks. Really, in general, it's a great map, and each one of the objective sites is very viable in my opinion. Now, Canal's biggest issue is that it's actually 2 buildings that are connected via one connector. So you really only have one way of getting from one building to the next. You do have the entire underground area, and you also have outside on the rooftops, but those are really only accessible to the attackers. The defenders really can't use that as a way to shift in between the buildings, and it's because they'll be spotted. Of course, once you head outside, you're going to be spotted, and the defenders just don't have enough time to get to the other building. And so if they are going to rework Canal and try to bring it into the meta, I think there needs to be another way to get through the buildings and really be able to reach each side quickly for both attack and defense. I think right now it's a very attacker favored map, and even the spawn peaks to some degree are attacker favored, where right off spawn you can be picked off as a defender really quickly. So I think that if Canal is getting a rework, which I think is a great choice for a map to get a rework, but if it is, they need to focus on a better way for people to rotate in between the 2 buildings. And also, I would change up some of the objective sites for that map, because there are so many windows and walls that lead directly into the objective. I think there needs to be a few more layers before the attackers can get into the objective. objective. This is something that I think they did really well with Hereford Base. There's a lot of rooms that surround the objectives where they're not able to get directly into the site via outside. If Thermite opens up a wall, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to go through an additional room or walk down an additional hallway or go up a flight of stairs to really be able to get into an objective. And that's something that I really like about Hereford Base, and something that I think is a major flaw with a map like Canal. So overall, I think it's a great choice for a map, but there's a lot of things and a lot of tweaks that this map needs before it's ready for the meta. But really, that's everything, guys. That is the latest news for Rainbow Six Siege, as well as the Australian leaks, and really everything that I wanted to talk about. So, of course, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think of both Mozzie and Gridlock? Do you think that Mozzie is going to be a really strong operator, being able to take over attacker drones? Or are you more looking forward to Gridlock, someone that's going to slow down that flank coming from the defenders? And finally, an attacker with some kind of barbed wire gadget. Let me know everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.